I'd like to call the order the regular meeting of the Warren Township Planning Board for October 16th, 2023. The legal notice required in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act has been satisfied and a statement certified saying will be executed. All right, so join me for the first.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, Mr. Alessa,
Here.
Ms. Van Order. Here. Mr. Flowers.
Here.
Mr. Rabbits.
Here.
Ms. Murphy. Here. Mr. Benoit.
Here.
Ms. Wilson. Here. Mr. Barrett.
Here.
Mr. Vine.
Here.
Mr. Phillips.
Here.
Mr. Rodnick.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Hanson.
Here.
And I, Sonia Cynthia, here. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. First, the first item of business.
We're gonna have
Yes,
Mr.
please. Okay.
Barrett sit in.
The first item of business is the approval of the minutes, and you'll notice that the minutes that were passed out were for August 15th, 2022. Tony is back working on the backlog of minutes very nicely. And if you recall, on the October 2nd meeting, we were being told it was being recorded about every 10 minutes. There are some issues, makes it difficult for her to review the meeting. It's the last month's meeting, we'll delay a little bit while I work through that. So.
I have one comment on those minutes.
Stay up there if
You
you
do,
want.
hold on.
Yeah.
What page?
For page one,
Page 1?
it's not Mr. G, it's Ms. And her name is with two N's, not one.
Huh? Which one?
Jeannie McKay, Ms. Jeannie McKay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's twins, you said?
Yeah. Remember, we approved a bunch of them for 22 a while ago, just been going back and getting them.
When I saw me as the chair, I said, something's wrong here.
Oh, guys, come on. Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Okay, so other than that, any other comments on the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved from August 15th, 2022 are approved.
Let the
Next-
record show that Mr. Quillen has taken his seat.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry that I'm late. I apologize.
Okay, we have the resolution for the Morris Marketplace. That we voted on last meeting, I believe. Can you summarize that for us, Mr. Rodney?
Morris Marketplace is an additional lot in the, for the LIDL supermarket. It's been reviewed and approved, so it's ready for adoption.
Anyone have any comments on the resolution as presented?
I'm normally the guy that gets aggravated when people have comments, but I do have them.
Oh, no, you can, go ahead.
Number 4 on page 5, it says the applicant shall construct a firewall between the building G and F. I thought it was the applicant may have to, if they don't have to. This makes it sound like they have to do it. Yeah, it doesn't say that. It says shall. So
And I spoke with Mr. Warner, and that was intentional to include that language at the advice of the professionals, that it shall be constructed.
I thought it was based upon review from the building department that they were going to do subsequently.
Yeah, they need one.
Oh,
They need a second firewall.
Okay, so then,
Yeah.
then I make a motion to accept the resolution as written.
Second.
Stay with me, guys, I got lost now. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Who's second?
I did.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Mr. Flowers,
Yes.
Mr. Rabbits,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Benoit,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Alesso.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving on, it's, for finding water, we actually have an application, public hearing. 0523, somebody want to introduce that for us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is application PB 0523, Helios Solar Energy LLC for site plan block 10401, lot 2, 1 Quarry Road in the I-21 zone. Applicant proposes to replace rooftop solar panels with new panels on the existing industrial building.
If I could just say something, the actual tax information on this lot has it as 268 Martin Luther King. We don't have a 1 Quarry Road.
Oh, that's right.
That's the name of the building. Well, up here at the site on the first page, it's 1 Quarry
1
Road.
Quarry Road, and that's how the application came in as 1 Quarry Road.
Yeah, it's 268 Martin Luther King.
Okay.
So the block and lot number are correct.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Rodriguez, do you want to lead this into this?
Sure. This is an application to replace a solar energy system, which is governed by section 95, section 34.4 of the variant of your ordinance. There's 2 sections. One is a general requirements, and there's 5 conditions that need to be met. There's also under subsection 2, looks like about 9 conditions that need to be met in order for this application to be fully compliant. We've obviously received the notice, and we've received all documents greater than 10 days prior to this hearing. So this board has jurisdiction and can proceed with the applicant's presentation.
Okay, yeah, just ready to present. You want to swear in the witnesses and the town professionals?
You raise your right hand. I guess everybody at the same time.
Doing standard.
Yes, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Singer?
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is David Singer with the law firm of Porzio, Bromberg and Newman. Here tonight on behalf of applicant Helios Solar Energy. Helios Solar Energy is requesting planning board approval pertaining to the replacement of existing rooftop solar panels located on the roof of property located at 268 Martin Luther King Avenue, also known as block 10104, lot 2, in the I-21 industrial zone of the township of Morris, and this use is permitted under the ordinance. The project will substantially reduce the existing coverage on the roof. The applicant is proposing approximately 41,156.95 square feet of roof-mounted solar panels and is in full compliance with both ordinance sections 95-34.4C1 and C2 for roof-mounted solar energy systems. There are no variances being requested with this application. Now you will hear testimony from the applicant's solar design engineer, as well as Josh Lewin from Helios Solar Energy, who will explain the project and answer any questions the board may have related to this conforming project. At this time, I'd like to call up Helios Solar Energy's solar design engineer who designed this project.
Could you please spell your name for the record, sir?
My name is Joan Hernandez. That's JHOANHERNANDEZ.
You're a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey?
I'm not a professional engineer.
Can you just describe your?
Yes. May I say that?
Sure.
I'm educated as an electrical engineer. I am also NABCET certified, which is the North American Board of Energy Practitioners. And so it's like a certification for mostly solar energy here in the United States.
I would ask the board to, accept, Johan as, the, solar design, engineer for this project.
Yeah, I'll accept, yes.
I'm sorry, but he's not an engineer, so.
Not a professional engineer, he was the second as the designer of the.
Right, that's fine, but to
Yes.
use the term engineer couldn't.
Okay. Yes.
He does have an
He's an
engineer.
electrical.
Yeah, I
engineer,
understand.
not really.
It's the title I'm afraid of.
Not professional.
Someone might say, oh, he's an engineer. No. We don't want to get into that. Protecting the donor.
I do want to say one thing before I go into testimony. In the general requirements under section 1 and the requirements under section 2, I just want to make sure that the board is aware that these, especially the general requirements, do talk about ground mounted, which is not what we're talking about here. So there aren't, all of the requirements do not need to be met under this application. So are you able to put up plan?
Page 2,
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Gardner, would you like this marked as Exhibit A?
Is that what you've submitted?
That's what's submitted.
That
That's
was-
page
yeah.
2 of what's submitted.
that's page 2 of the plan.
So this will be, the full set of plans will be A1. Did you provide the last revised date as well as the author?
Sure. August 18th, 2023. The author was both Helios as well as the engineer. And
What did you say the date was?
August 17th. Hernandez, can you please describe to the board an overview of this project?
So, what we intended to do with this project was, I'm sorry, what we intended to do with this project was replace the existing 2 solar systems that were up on the rooftop and replace them with a much more energy efficient solar modules as well as inverters that are now up to code, because since the solar system was old, it wouldn't held up to the national electrical standards as of right now, 2023.
Is what we're looking at here on exhibit 2 the existing plan, or is this the proposed plan?
This is the proposed plan.
So I want to go through the ordinance as it relates to what's up on the project up on the screen. Will all electrical and control equipment be labeled and secured to prevent unauthorized access?
Yes, correct. All electrical equipment, including the conduit, the inverters, and all the disconnect, will have to be labeled according to the NEC, which is the National Electric Code, as well as any local ordinances are here from where it's touched.
Will all signs associated with this project be below 2 square feet unless requested by the board or any of the local authorities?
And all signs have to be within the ordinances, so below 2 square feet.
Can you confirm that the solar energy system will not be lit?
Yes, I can confirm. It will not be lit.
Will the system provide net metering for principal use located on the lot?
Yes, the solar energy system will provide net metering for the main building.
And I think so this is my opening, but just confirm that the system is permitted on this one.
Yes, the system is permitted on this building.
In terms of the height, can you explain whether it meets the height threshold in the ordinance?
Yes, so the solar system does meet the requirements of the height, so it's actually well below. If you look at the screen, it shows that from the roof surface to the top of the solar panel, it's actually 11 inches.
What is existing there now? Right? Is it lower than what's existing now?
It's approximately the same.
It's approximately the same. Yeah, they vary in angle, but it's not much.
And I believe that the threshold for this project would be 4 feet height from the adjacent roof plane, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And this is 11 inches.
And this is 11 inches.
Can you explain the distance from the roof plane for this project?
Right. So I think the setbacks and the requirements for this specific ordinance is about 6 feet from the roof edge. And we're actually the closest solar array to the roof edge is about 45 feet. So we're way past that because we need the space for shadows and stuff like that.
Can you explain the coverage? The ordinance says it cannot cover more than 80% of the entire roof area. What is the coverage for this project?
The coverage for this project is actually 14% of the total roof space.
And the prior was how large?
So the prior system that was taken off, this new system is actually smaller by 20%.
And for the record, it was, I think the exact number is 14.36%,
Yes.
coverage.
The old one was 14.36.
The current, will all exterior electrical equipment be, screened from the public right of way?
So this specific system, as you may see, it has, there are 2 separate systems. The bigger one, which is called all modes. All the electrical equipment would be placed inside the building in the electrical room. On where my garage is showing. Now, CarLink, most of the electrical equipment is also inside, but the inverter is placed on the south exterior wall, but it's right next to the utility equipment. So it's barely noticeable and it's very small. It's like 2 feet by 2 feet.
Are there any questions for this witness?
Yes.
You said there's not gonna be any lighting, so what happens if there's an issue in the night and somebody needs to go up there and work on it? Is there light?
Why would they do that?
Well, the issue also is your ordinance states that no solar energy system shall be lit. That's, under, section 1E. So by ordinance, it's not allowed.
But I guess what I'm asking is there's no roof lighting?
There's never, may I? So I'm
Just why don't you introduce it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm Josh Lewin. I'm the owner of Helio Solar Energy. I've been in the solar industry for almost 20 years. I've been on thousands of roofs. I've never seen any lighting except maybe next to an HVAC piece of equipment. It's just not done, for one. The solar system does not work at night whatsoever because there's no radiance from the sun. So there'd be no reason to work on it. If there was an emergency issue, the fire department would be there and they had fire access lanes and things like that. which is why we have pathways through here for them and such.
Can you spell your last name, sir?
Lewin, Lewin.
And what's your title?
President.
Yeah, I'm not satisfied with that answer, but it's an answer.
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. Rath.
I'm just curious, is these, this solar energy specifically to power this building, or will there be excess that powers something else?
So what these two systems are here to do, they have multiple tenants in the building. Two tenants, one is CarLink, the other is All Modes. This is going to supply all the power that CarLink needs. This is going to supply all the power that All Modes needs. The other one or two tenants decided not to opt into the program, so they're not putting any other additional solar. So part of the building will be consuming regular power from JCP&L.
Can you say a little bit more about what the inverter is and
Sure.
does?
So in the inverter, I don't have a picture of it, but it's about half the size of this, okay? And what's happening, would you all like just a quick little lesson on solar?
Yeah.
So,
Excuse me, Mr. Lowen, can you please use the microphone
I'm
so
sorry,
we can
sure.
pick you up? Thank
Sure.
you.
So I'm just gonna give you a quick little lesson. So solar 101, you have solar panels up on the roof. They're getting the sunlight and they're making DC power. We then wire them with something called an optimizer. An optimizer maximizes what every panel can produce. It also is a safety issue for the fire department because if you turn the system off, it gives something called rapid shutdown. So that way there's not a lot of excess power coming down from the roof and a firefighter won't get electrocuted and things like that. From there, the optimizers are wired together, sort of like Christmas lights in a string. We would have multiple strings going to the inverter, and then the inverter changes that DC power that the solar system is producing, and it converts it to AC power, which is what the building uses. At CarLink, we have one inverter, and that's going right into their main distribution panel. And then the building will just, they'll just use the power as they normally would if it was the utility company or the solar system. The building doesn't know any difference. We have special meters and things that track all that information. And then All Modes has multiple inverters because it's a larger system. And then we end up combining that power and also tie it into the main distribution panel there as well. And that happens to be all in their existing utility room because there was ample space for that in the best design.
Thank you.
Said with CarLink, the inverter will be outside near the other electrical equipment.
Right, there is
The inverter for the original system was inside?
correct. So the inverter from the original system was about as big as that desk. And it was very tall and they put it inside. That was what happened 15, 20 years ago. This inverter is much smaller. It's right next to the interconnection equipment, which is the existing utility CT cabinet and meter, and it just happens to work better. If there was any screening issues, we would have no issue planting an arborvitae in front of it just to give a little bit more screening if that's what you like. But this area here, as you can see, it's got many trees in this area. And, you know, initially we felt that it was screening quite well. And when the environmental commissioner came out, she also thought everything looked very attractive at night as well.
What is on the roof right now?
So what the reason why this project was created was because the landlord recently bought the building. They put a brand new roof on the building, so they're making capital improvements. We had to take the solar system off because you could not replace it because it had to be brought up to code, as Mr. Hernandez had said. And now there's, you know, the installation of the new solar system.
Well, there's a new roof.
Brand new roof. So the landlord is really making great capital improvements to the property, which is what the community wants anyway, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a curiosity question.
Sure.
It looks like these are better technology than what was available to us 15 years ago or so. And are these panels made domestically or are they coming from outside?
Okay, so the technology hasn't changed dramatically. What we have is more power density is what we're getting. That's why the footprint is smaller. But overall, it's still basically as dumb as it was 20 years ago. But the panels themselves are all coming from Asia. And there's
You can say it, China.
they're not coming from China. These are actually manufactured in Cambodia.
But I'm sure that China has a hand in it. There's not much you can do at this point. I'm also the vice president of the solar organization in the state of New Jersey. China's locked up the market at this point.
Mr. Barrett?
Yeah, just by way of clarification, it sounds like you're saying the new panels are already, that they've started installing them on the roof?
Yes, when I had come down to the building department to file the permit, we found out we had to go from the planning board. I had mentioned that I would build on my own risk.
Okay.
And the reason why is that, so solar is also, there's a lot of tax incentives involved in this. The property owner is getting an enormous tax incentive to do the roof and the solar system simultaneously. The reason why we did not wait, because I know that the planning board is changing this rule for January, that we don't actually have to even go in front of the planning board next year for this. We could not wait because of the tax year. So we had to, it was more advantageous from an economic standpoint to still proceed and keep going. And it was a very large project with a lot of things happening. So I was open and direct with the municipality saying we would be proceeding at our own risk.
Yes, Ms. Miller.
I have one question for the applicant and one question for our professionals. For the applicant, I wanted to ask for those tenants who have opted into the program and are getting the benefit of this solar power, what proportion of their total expected usage will be handled by the solar panels over the course of a year?
Almost 100%. So both tenants, this is the reason why the numbers are odd numbers, is because that's approximately exactly what they used last year. That's approximately what they used last year. So we're basically netting carboning, then zeroing them out basically in that perspective.
And you can't go over 100% because that would not work with the tax incentive programs, is that correct?
That has nothing to do with it. The utility companies do not want you to become your own power company to the point that you're over generating and feeding the grid excess power. And there's lots of reasons for that because of grid closures, modernization, transformers, and things like that.
Yeah. So it is a net metering system so that it will be back and forth. At times of excess, it will be supplying power to the grid. At times, like at night, it will be drawing from the grid.
Right, correct. So how solar
overall, the capacity is about what they used last year's.
Right, exactly. Solar works as like a bell curve. In January and December, you get the least production, about a third of what you get in June. June is the summer solstice. That's the longest day of the year. We get almost 3 times what we would get in January. We average it out over the year. Some months they get a small bill, some months they get a credit, but it basically washes out over the whole year.
My question for the professionals is something that you alluded to, that this would not be necessary for January. So I wanted to know, and I was wondering when I was reading up for tonight's application, why this needs to come to the planning board if it's in compliance with our ordinances and there are no variances requested.
From what I understand, that would be the town engineer that could answer this.
It would be the planner. The planner is sitting in at the TCC. I'm not sitting in at the TCC on this.
So right now, the way the solar portion of the ordinance is constructed and written, it is not site plan exempt. And we've had discussions before this board and the TCC is basically working on an ordinance amendment that if a applicant was totally in compliance, such as this application with roof mounted, they would not have to come before this board, and it would be basically reviewed in-house administratively. And provided that they met all the criteria, they wouldn't have to appear before the board. That's what the applicant's referring to. Currently, they have to be here until that ordinance goes into effect.
Because it's the site plan change.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes.
one more question. This is an administrative question for our professionals.
Hmm.
I see in a few of the documents that the correct address
Right.
is associated with this application. But, number of other places, it says 140 Road, which is the name of the building, not the address.
Right.
And my question has to do with, I guess, administrative application. Do we need to have that corrected, or is there any problem leaving it as is?
I think that's a legal question.
Yeah, I mean,
Any of these typos need to be corrected on the final plans that are resubmitted as part of resolution
I
compliance.
guess I would suggest that the correct address be utilized. If we're gonna ask for correction, I would ask that they use the
An objection, Mr. Singer?
No, I mean, on the application itself, it has the 268, but we'll make sure it's on the
But
plans.
the plan is
We'll
not.
make sure that it's on the plans as well.
Right, and it's just an administrative question.
No, there's no issue there. That's an easy change.
I have one other question. So just to clarify what you just said, are you saying that you've already started the construction and
So,
you're proceeding?
so it was physically impossible for us to meet the end of the year deadline with the utility companies and everything like that that we had to do if we did not start beforehand. There would be no way we could do that, and the client would be exposed to millions of dollars of lost tax equity, basically. So we proceeded.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you started, you didn't realize you had to go for site plan.
Correct. When we first started, we came down to the town and we filed a permit, and we were completely surprised because when, you know, about having to go in front of the planning board and things like that. If we realized that, we would have maybe planned a couple months a little bit further ahead, but unfortunately, it's not a perfect world, and clients and things like that. We made the best of what we could. It was quite a big project. It took, you know, quite a long time to dismantle it, get it ready for the roofer, and quite a long time to continue to build it. Even afterwards, we still have, once we get a permit, which may be, and I'm not being presumptuous, but hopefully maybe in a month or so, it'll take us almost another month to have the utility company scheduled to do what we have to do called an interconnection. So right there, you're almost at the end of December by the time we can even finalize the project. And that's already started to build,
That's your goal.
to finish it before the end of the year. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
This is just really because you're educating us. Why isn't there a battery storage component so you don't even have to buy anything from the grid? Is there something that's adds to the cost, or is there a reason beyond that?
So we actually do design some battery storage projects. That's a big buzzword right now. It doesn't mean that it's on the bleeding edge of technology is what the problem is. The cost would have maybe increased the price by about 200% for one. They didn't have that much tax equity and things like that. And the batteries also only last 10 years, so you have to be replacing them. Now you're gonna see batteries come online more and more, but it's not gonna be for this type of application. It's gonna be more for people that have, if you have the education, where they have enormous amounts that demand very short spurts of time, because that's where the utility company, where we can't help. We produce so many watts, period, every year, but sometimes some equipment may have a surge of power, and the utility company is still going to charge them for that. The batteries would help offset that type of issue, and things like that. But I would say you'll see that very common in about 10 years. It's still not going to be common for quite a while.
Thank you.
Just one question. Just a point of clarification. I believe the witness mentioned before the closest distance from the edge of the building to the left, to the,
Right in here?
where it was 45.
Feet, yes. So
That's in the middle one. The one on the right looks like it's 33 feet.
I think that's also about the same, either one. The building, just to give you an idea, this is almost 11 acres just for the building.
No, I
itself.
understand, but just, it says 33 feet, and so I just wanted, which is fine for dimension. I just want to make sure that that's what.
I think so, if it's okay, Johan is, this is his first planning board meeting.
Congratulations.
So let's give him a little credit today. He's doing great, and I'm very proud of him.
So can we get just an accurate number
Sure.
on the?
Johan, can you just, you got that right now?
Assuming it's the.
I think,
Yeah, and just for you know, the distance on a flat roof is 6 foot setbacks along the side.
They just want the record correct.
No.
so unfortunately, we can't see exactly what it is, but if you keep wait a moment, he'll pull it up on his phone. and see if he can zoom in.
It's 33 feet, 10 and a half inches.
Right, so he has it right there.
Right. Yeah, I just want the record to be correct.
So on the record, The closest distance to the edge of the roof will be 33
Feet.
feet, 10 inches,
10 and a half.
10 and a half inches. And the code is only a 6-foot setback.
Any other questions, comments? Anything more from the professionals?
Yeah, I have a couple things.
Thank you.
When you start dealing with the building department, they're gonna wanna see location of signs with the size and what the sign says.
Yes, so in regards to that, on the building permit application, there's the solar crucible that needs to be put on, that's already on the drawing. Typically, because there's multiple entrances here, what I do is when the fire inspector comes, I ask him or her where they would like it, because I don't know specifically, that's really a judgment call for them. And since that person handles the first responders, I will mount it anywhere they want at that moment. I have it usually in my hand, and I have one of my employees there, and we mount it during the inspection. Only because of that reason, there's 10 different entrances in the building.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know where they want it specifically.
All right.
And that sign is approximately about 10 inches by about 6 or 8 inches.
All right. And other rooftop solar, we've fenced in the inverter location with a sign on the gate saying danger electrical or something like that.
That was the old big units, correct?
No, that was last year at Del Barton High School.
Okay.
Most of their stuff was outside, but the inverter in 2 locations was outside and the control panels were inside. So I would talk to Albert at the building department tomorrow, just in case you have to make a change to the plan.
If that's required, we'll be happy to accommodate in this.
Okay. All right. That's it for me.
Make a motion to approve?
Wait a minute.
More, sorry.
Well, yeah, anything from our.
No, the only thing is that, as the applicant stated, one of the requirements is that exterior electrical equipment be screened from the public view shed. And when the applicant was before the TCC, we kind of were like, well, what are you doing to screen? And then we learned the inverter was like 2 feet by 2 feet or something like that. And it's really small. And so just so that the board knows, it'll be the board's decision. The TCC felt with the existing vegetation between the inverter, the small inverter site and the right of way, there probably was no need to screen a 2 foot by 2 foot inverter, but that's up to the board.
And how does you say the inverters by the existing electrical, what's the size of that?
So the electrical CT cabinet is approximately 3 feet by 4 feet, and then there's an electrical meter there that's maybe approximately 2 feet by 2 feet, I want to say off the top of my head. So this is smaller than that. And I may have a picture. Let me look for a second.
All right, I'll ask then if it's required by the building department to fence that in. If we can make fencing a requirement then.
Sure.
All right.
If that's required, I'll be happy.
All right.
Now, the fence would be more likely less attractive than the inverter.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that. And if you're telling me there's a lot of trees there and a lot of growth, then maybe it'll naturally screen them. But if it needs a fence for safety, then you have to follow the building department.
We're always happy to help, especially when there's life safety issues.
Okay.
Any questions from the public? Yes, please, could you stand up to the microphone, give your name and address?
Good evening. My name is Pamela Watson, and I reside at 2 Corey Road in Morris Township. And my question was, I was a little surprised to get this letter because I know I live 200 feet from this project, and it said that there was going to be a minor site plan approval to replace the existing rooftop solar panels with new rooftop solar panels. I received this September the 27th. I was just wondering, since the beginning of summer, there's been banging and cracking and dropping stuff from the roof to the ground and that, and what was going on. So I was wondering why I was getting this so late if they were already doing this, but here I see they weren't. They stepped out, I guess, and proceeded on their own risk to be able to take the old system out. Right, approval, and that they were putting in a new roof during the summer. And that was saving the seller some money. So my question, I think, was answered. So that is, you don't really need an approval to put on a new roof. This was just an approval to put new solar panels on. That's correct, am I right? Okay.
Yes.
So you answered my question, and I just wanted to confirm that was correct. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
I just have one comment. I appreciate your explanation of why you started the work, but just, you know, and in this case, I think it'll work out okay, but as a general principle, I'm uncomfortable with that.
I understand, and that's why I was building at my own risk. I don't like to do that typically, but unfortunately, sometimes there's only so much I can only stretch my calendar so far. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years, so I know all the highs and lows. The utility company is my biggest obstacle in regards to scheduling. And, you know, we won't have very much time before the end of the year now.
Right. Thank you.
But I appreciate that, though. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion to approve the application as presented to us tonight with the stipulations that our attorney has documented? You can just
Refresh our memory.
Sure.
No, I'm gonna second it, with the stipulation about the fences, if required by the building inspector.
So this is the application to approve the minor site plan for the solar energy system installation replacement. All equipment, these are the following conditions that have been agreed upon by the applicant. All equipment will be labeled in accordance with 9534.4. All signage will be under 2 square feet. There will be no lighting of the solar system on the roof. System will provide net metering. The system will meet the height requirement below 4 feet, proposed at 11 inches. So the system will meet all the setbacks at no less than 6 feet from the roof edge, 45 foot on the one panel side and 33 foot, 10.5 inches on the right side. System shall not increase to above 80% of roof coverage. The proposed roof coverage is 14.36%. The applicant will change all the plans on the final submission to the board to change and correct the address. The location of the signage has to be approved by the building department. The applicant had agreed to install fencing and signage for the inverter if so required by the building department, and no additional vegetation will be required for landscape buffer screening.
If I may, there was one additional signage contingent upon, I think, for the fire department.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. My bad.
Once the signage is proposed, Mike Nunn will get a copy of the sketch where the signage is gonna go, and then he gets involved at that point.
Okay, great.
Does that sound right to you? You agree with that? Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Can you call the roll, son?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Alesso,
Yes.
Ms. Van Order,
Yes.
Mr. Flowers,
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Benoit,
Yes.
Mr. Quillen,
Yes.
Mr. Vine.
Yeah.
So moved.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I was a little. I know you.
Too many years of practice.
You would balance it or something?
I just know what it's like to be applicant.
Yeah.
What the tell is, as my wife posted on Facebook, Eagles might fly so high.
Being a Dolphins fan, I have no comment.
Okay, moving on. Any reports on our other matters? Any report from the legislature?
Yes, I'll update everybody on what's going on with cannabis, because I've been asked at the meeting. So our last cannabis meeting, and our next one is tomorrow, by the way, public is of course invited. The last meeting, we had an owner who owned 2 cannabis licenses up in Vernon, had a cultivator license and a manufacturer license. So he came in with his attorney and filled the advisory board in on his experience with the whole process, what he had to go through with the state. I did ask him if he would send us on his business plan, if he would send us his revenue projections, because that seems to be something that's, the advisory board is very interested in, because that affects, will affect, some of our decision making with regard to whether to remain opted out or opt in some fashion. So it was very informative as to what was said. I will just say that, he cut 30,000 square feet for cultivation, and I think it was 3,000 feet for manufacture. 5,000 feet for manufacture, thank you, Linda. And tomorrow, we have another session that's going to include some FAQs. There's been some misinformation out there on social media as to what the advisory board is doing, what we may or may not be proposing, and the authority that we have. So that will help to dispense some of the misinformation that's gotten out there on social media. Linda or Bill, am I missing anything?
I think you covered it.
No, I just have to say that I think the process that's being followed is very thoughtful. It's very robust and not yet completed. So the work proceeds, and so people shouldn't be leaping to the conclusion that decisions are being made in any shape or form, because we're not there yet.
The final report, which will be drafted by Mayor Jorfi, will be submitted by the end of the year. So no action will be taken this year in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be up to next year's governing body.
One point of clarification, it's not tomorrow, but the following meeting that's devoted to public comment, is that right?
Correct. November 1st is the meeting devoted to public comments. And then we will have a short public deliberation, at which point we will adjourn.
Just a quick question. What time is the November 1st meeting?
All meetings have been going from 6:30 to 8, and I gotta say, Mark has been running a tight ship.
So November 1st, where's that meeting?
In the conference room right behind this room.
Not in this room.
Not in this room.
Because I have this room reserved for November 1st. I got a little nervous there.
We'll send overflow to you.
No, you definitely don't want my overflow.
I have a legislative update also. So, last Friday, the League of Municipalities held their legislative committee meeting. And that has various subcommittees, one of which is land use. And they also, as part of that meeting, started it off. I don't know if you know this, but there's what they're calling a mayor's roundtable that's taking a look ahead of July 2025 at ideas and constructive suggestions for dealing with affordable housing. So I attended that meeting at 10 o'clock. It was very interesting. It was people from all over the state, elected officials and professionals. People are starting to share their ideas, a lot of stuff we've heard before, and some new things too. Everybody seems to agree it would be good to get it out of the courts. lots of concern with builder's remedy, lots of concern with what they call methodology, like what's your formula for figuring out what your numbers are? There's a lot of, that's part of why COA, it's one of the main reasons COA existed at all in the past was because the formula is so complicated. It's super hard to understand. So, you know, the methodology is coming up with questions and suggestions, and also the methodology for how do you give credit for the existing affordable housing that you have. There's a lot of questions about that. There's also questions about, you know, present rules kind of exclude residents within your own town from being considered or given priority for the affordable housing in your own town. There's a lot of questions raised about that. And of course, the RCA's, regional cooperation agreements. Regional contributions. Those were very popular in the past, but they do raise questions, so there's a lot of discussion about how to address those issues. So they're seeking input, and I give them a lot of credit for that. And what?
After leave, will they be seeking input?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not aware of any particular, workshop they're doing, but I'm sure it'll come up. It's an important group. And then on the legislative committee, one of the bills, what they do, they take a look at all the bills that are in progress, and one of them would postpone affordable housing round 4 until July of 2028. So there was quite a bit of discussion about that, and the legislation committee ended up, their position was to hold, to not approve or oppose, because they felt like, we're trying to come up with a good solution here and some good recommendations, and they didn't want to, topple that. But when it came back to the large group, that became a discussion item, and there were, they required a vote of the entire large group, and there was a significant minority of people who wanted to support that legislation. So to me, it sort of spoke to how, there's a lot of interest and, differing opinions on what to do. So I thought it was a very productive meeting, and I'm glad I went. And I'm sure it will come up. It'll definitely be referenced.
I'm glad you went too.
At the league,
We're-
yeah.
We're well represented.
I told them we have a little working group around here. We're kind of doing the same thing, but now we're sort of plugged in together, which is good. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, the next I had Sonia sent the PDAC Madison Avenue quarterly report. Not for any real action on one of these, so we don't just talk about it. The 6-page or whatever the summary, and then the link was there for the entire 60-page, more detail, taking a look at it. So I would urge you again to take a look at it, and as we discussed last week, as we in our organization meeting in January, we will establish a formal subcommittee to work with Paul and the professional on seeing how we might address some of the forward what changes could require the planning board might, the input we might have, because certainly some of the effect could easily affect, require amendment to the existing master plan. So
I just had a question on the EDAC recommendations page. I actually went through the 59 slides and all the other associated material.
nice to get the background as well.
I actually brought my computer, so I thought we were going to talk about it today.
Yeah.
So I could refer to it, but my question has to do with Come Forrester. It's referenced as a possible redevelopment site, and I wasn't aware of anything going on over there.
They are subdividing the building.
Oh, multiple tenants there.
Yes.
Got it, okay, so they're
Yeah.
not,
COVID made them aware that they didn't need 3/4.
right,
So they've done the subdivision, they've done some interior renovations to split it up into
So the
three
building will
floors.
stay the same, they'll just subdivide it.
Right. You may see a sign application coming in the future. Because everybody wants an ID out on the front lawn.
Oh,
Is that right across from your house?
no, it's
Oh.
not.
Yeah.
But we all drive
Just
past.
think it's all
Yeah.
kind of, you know,
Are they also talking about putting in a driveway to, Canfield Road?
No, it's just signs.
It's just an indication that, you know, things are happening and could happen in the future. We should try to get out ahead of it. So you can take a look at these, and I'm glad that you took a look at it, because it is interesting.
I was ready to go.
I personally found it kind of interesting that a lot of the residential input and the input from the businesses was, you know, overlapped, and they were, you know, kind of the same.
Just out of curiosity, how many people participated in the EDAC study in 2022? I know the Kathy.
Yes, I was on that committee that year.
And you were?
There were,
Oh,
I-
Under the public.
Oh, okay.
And I was also a member of the public participating.
it was, I wanna say it was somewhere, I forget the exact number, somewhere, it was over 400 on the written survey.
Yeah.
And it was somewhere around 35 or 40 on the, you know, focus group type thing. They called it visioning. So, but there was good participation.
Good.
Jim, I have a question, and this is geared toward Paul. I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm thinking
No problem.
Oh, go ahead.
maybe you have some source documents or reference documents that we can look at when looking at this stuff to, I don't know, to get a notion of what's feasible, what's preferable, what types of things you should be looking at. Because if we're just looking at what residents say, we're just thinking about what's in our own heads. When we're driving around to the different towns to see what's there, we could be missing some good professional type references that we can include in our thoughts, our deliberations, and how we might want to proceed. So you might not have anything now, but maybe a reference list or something that we can, you know, delve into as a committee or something.
I mean, I can't think of anything, any document that is directly on point, but I think the key to looking at this quarter together with the recommendations out of EDAC is to have some understanding of sort of the dynamics of the marketplace and what's happening in the development world.
That'd be great.
And I mean, and I can kind of fill the subcommittee in at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
as
right,
to
and I think
what
that's
I'm seeing out there, and which is consistent with a lot of the discussions. And I participated as some of the EDAC committee members. I was asked to attend a number of the sessions. I actually ran the charrette, and we helped with the survey. And so some of that was discussed, but could kind of look at the dynamics of the marketplace in terms of kind of what the market wants to do in combination with what the municipal objectives are, I think is the key to this. I really do. And the other thing is it's an interesting quarter, you know, because it's going through transformation, as we can see with projects that have occurred over the last 5 or 10 years. And I think we need to take a real good look at the underlying zoning. We have a redevelopment site within there with the Abbey. We've got a lot of properties that we hear either directly or through the Whisper Mill that are ripe for development, and developers are sort of knocking on our door. So the whole thought was to try and get ahead of the curve a little bit and be proactive as opposed to being reactive. But I don't know, add documents per se, but just kind of understanding, you know, what's the dynamics of the marketplace, given the uses that are out there in the zoning that's out there. I think that's what you really need to focus on, you know, when we come to the, you know, the subcommittee of the board or the full board. And then I can just add my own experience throughout northern New Jersey based on what I've seen in the last 5 years or so.
Well, that would be great.
Yeah, and I think that's, as I say, I think that's the kind of thing to think about. talked a little bit with Paul, but it seems to be better done, you know, as a subcommittee, because there's a lot of work and a lot of information there, and the subcommittee can spend the time, those who are willing, and I will be talking to everyone who might want to serve on the subcommittee for next year. And then with, you know, periodic reports to the board as a whole, but we don't want to be tying the board, I don't think, you know, that would go on forever with too many people. And so, I think that's best done with the subcommittee, so, but that's exactly the kind of thing I think, you know, all the arrangements that you want to do, so.
Do we have time to, I'd love to hear what Linda has to say. I'll wait until we have the subcommittee. All right.
So I do have
She
one.
must not be feeling well, she's gonna wait.
I do have one other question. We just went through a review of the action items coming out of our last master plan review, which was informative, although tedious. So I was just wondering, is there anything else that we need to do in the run-up to the master plan? Either review again or to generate a brand new master plan? I don't know that we've made any kind of decision on what direction we want to take.
I'm
when
kind
we
of
need to
hoping,
re-engage.
I'm kind of hoping and expecting that this kind of smaller look at a more specific part of the master plan will kind of pave the way and highlight areas that we want to address going into the main master plan. That kind of, you know, certainly the master plan itself is gonna come under review and, you know,
Right.
during the, you know.
Well, we
looking
have
at
until
this.
2027, I guess, so we've got some time to do something.
2026 is more, you know,
Right.
we'll start on the master plan itself, but this should kind of be an entrance into what we should be looking at, how we might want to approach that. At least that's how I'm looking at it.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
also have a comment about the master plan discussion we had last month, was it?
Yes.
Okay. So following our board meeting last month, we all received an email from Jim Slate correcting the record regarding the comment that I made. And just to correct the record again, the comment I made was correct. And that is that the Borough of Madison did a full redo of their master plan, and the price that I noted was correct. And that was confirmed with Dr. Susan Blickstein, who is the planner, and with Ray Cody, and there was a whole lot of questions about, because in Ray's email, he said, oh, our re-exam, like he just misspoke. They did, and you can go on the website and see it. They did a total and full and complete. It even says this document replaces this one original and all the various iterations of re-exam. And one of the things that Dr. Blickstein, who's someone I work with very closely in Madison, noted, and I agree with her, is it's been a long time. And we should really seriously consider doing a full redo of our master plan. And
I think that's the plan, is the full redo of the master plan. It's been.
Well, it seems to be the way.
30
years.
I have to, but I $40,000 just seems, and I'm not saying that you're wrong because it's been confirmed to you, but I think in some of the preliminary discussions that we've been having, we're well into six figures.
I think you
So-
need to
so-
discuss it with other people.
Yeah, that's-
Maybe your neighbors in Madison.
Yeah, so that's something.
I have a good relationship with Susan. I'm gonna speak with Susan about this as well and just find out exactly what was done for the 40,000. Because there's clearly a misunderstanding here. And again, I wasn't at the last meeting and I
That
don't,
letter came from Ray.
yes, I also have a good relationship with Ray Cody, but I'll get the answer
But
and
let's
so
say
we have the
it's
facts,
80.
yeah.
It's still a
Yeah.
doable number.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
These are not big,
And
60,
80 is a far cry from six figures, so.
right.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice to have a.
I will vet that just to make sure that I understand it correctly as well.
Okay. Any other comments? None? There any other comments from the public? Alan, no? You're the public tonight? You're fine? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, have a motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I've got to put on his name, the motion.
Yeah. Motions to go.
Motion.